and then we'll start the class. Oh, we're already recording. Okay, so welcome to class, everyone. I hope you all had a relaxing and rejuvenating new holiday time. It's so nice to see you all here. I just want to remind you all that to be careful with your practice, to know your limits, and I can't see you, so I can't make any individual adjustments if needed. So really listen to your own body, honor your shape, your size, your limitations and flexibility. We all have different our bodies are all different. So we all know our own bodies better than anybody. So it's really important to listen to your body, more importantly than listening to my instructions, and come out of any pose if you're tired or if you have any pain. Also, I notice some people may have injuries, so just be mindful of how you're feeling within yourself, and don't overstrive in your practice. Try to really find that balance between ease and effort. Stay connected to your breath throughout the practice. That'll really give you guidance and anchor you to your body. So to begin with, if you just want to find a comfortable position, if you're seated, you can be seated on a chair if that's comfortable, or on your mat, cross-legged, or however, whatever is the most comfortable position for you. You want to if you're seated, you want to bring your shoulders up, back, and down, and make sure that the crown of your head is above your tailbone. So a nice lengthen your spine, and then just settle into your pelvis. If you prefer to be lying down on your back, have your feet on the mat, knees pointed up. And once again, just check that your shoulders are flat against the earth, or flat down towards your mat, and you can just settle into your back body. So gently close your eyes. Begin with a deep, nourishing inhale, and exhale fully. On your next inhale, visualize a clear and calm breath coming in. And then gently exhale all your worries, your fears, stress, and uncertainty. And begin to draw your senses inward, just like a turtle draws in its head and its limbs into its shell. And then drop your swirling mind and thoughts, drop them down into your body to try and bring a little peace to your mind. So drop down into your body. Now bring attention to your breath. Notice your breath moving in your body and how it moves your body. Don't try and change it, just notice it. Notice the pace of your breath. Notice on the inhale how you expand, and on the exhale how you drop back down. Begin to soften your belly and invite a slower and deeper inhale down, all the way down to your belly. And then follow the exhale all the way through to it leaving your body through your nostrils. So just follow that path of your breath for a few more times. Every time your mind starts to take you away, come back to your breath. And now we're going to try and just, we will lengthen out our exhale. That does tend to bring down our nervous system if you've been having a busy day or morning. So we're going to do that by, on the exhale, you're going to be pretending that, well, not pretending, you're going to be blowing through a pretend narrow straw. So inhale and exhale through your mouth, blowing through the straw. When you're ready, you can take another inhale. Blow through the straw on your exhale. Do that 2 more times. Now just come back to your normal breathing. Hopefully it's a little bit deeper, a little bit slower now. And you can gently open your eyes. So we're going to start out the practice lying on your backs on your mat. And we're going to stretch, a nice big stretch. So lift your arms up and over behind you. Stretch from your fingertips all the way through to your pointed toes. Inhale, and then you can relax on the exhale. Let everything drop. Inhale. Stretch from the fingertips through to the toes. Exhale, relax. One more nice deep inhale. Exhale, relax down. Now move your feet over to the right side. Just step your heels over a little bit to the right and then take your arms and hands a little bit over to the right. So you're in a kind of banana shape. You're going to cross your left foot over your right ankle and then hold your left wrist with your right hand. So the right hand is holding the left wrist to give you a little bit of tension. And now you can stretch all the way up your side, left side of your body, through your legs, through your left hip, expand through the left rib cage, up through the left underarm, all the way through the left arm. Breathe into the left rib cage. Making space between the ribs here. 2 more nice deep breath cycles. Lengthening up through the left side. And then walk your hands back to center. Hands back to center. Take a moment to pause. And then walk your feet over to the left side. Arms and hands reach over to the right side. Cross your right foot over your left ankle and hold your left wrist with your, hold your right wrist with your left hand. And now stretch all the way up the right side of your body. All the way up the leg, expand through the right rib cage. Breathe into that right ribs, finding space between the ribs, the little muscles holding the ribs together, giving yourself an internal massage. with your breath. 2 more deep breaths here. And then come back to center. Take a moment here to recenter, reconnect with your breath. And then bring your knees up, feet up on the mat, knees up towards the ceiling, and then start to bring your knees in towards your torso. Squeeze your knees in towards your chest. Your hands can interlace around the fronts of your knees or on the tops of your knees. Inhale, and on an exhale, start to curl your head up towards your knees to make a little ball of your body. Exhale. Inhale, lower your head and take a nice inhale here. Exhale, begin to curl your head back up towards your knees. Then inhale back down to the mat. Now left hand on left knee, right hand on right knee. Start to do some hip circles. So take your knees out to opposite sides of the room, all the way out to the sides of the room. Then bring them back in towards your torso, back into the center and to the front of the room, all the way out to the sides. As you start to make some hip circles here, going in one direction. Go nice and slowly and mindfully. This is a ball and socket joint. So the top of the thigh bone is rotating in the hip joint. And try and take your mind's eye to that bone rotating in the joint. And then come to center and reverse. Go in the opposite direction. So now the knees go out to the sides, to the front of the room, and then back into the torso. As we're bringing movement to the joint, we're also bringing blood flow and keeping that synovial fluid nice and lubricating the joint. So there's fluid that lubricates our joints. And just bringing motion and blood flow helps to keep that all nicely lubricated. Creating space, and with space comes freedom of movement. One more time in this direction. And then come to still, back to center. And now let's do that with the ankles. So start to rotate the ankle, the feet around the ankle joint, taking the feet out in opposite directions. Nice and slowly and mindfully. We want to have flexible ankles. Also, we want to have strong ankles. So don't want to overstretch the tendons, but you do want to have those healthy ankles. And come to center, reverse. Point the toes and flex the toes as you go around that circle. Taking your feet around the ankle joint. 2 more times. And come to still. Now just do some pointing down to the floor and flexing your toes up towards your shins. So you're getting a nice stretch also up the shin and up the calf. When you point your toes, you're stretching your shins, and when you flex your toes towards your shins, you're stretching in your calf muscles. You might feel that. And then you can come to still. Now, if you have a strap, you can take your strap. If you don't have a strap, you're going to be interlacing your fingers behind your thigh. So take your strap and loop it around the ball of your right foot. And then just start to bend, to straighten your knee and take your foot up towards the ceiling. straightening your right leg. If you don't have a strap, you're going to just take your foot up towards the ceiling and interlace your hands behind your thigh. Press your thigh into your hand and your hand into your thigh. You want to keep the shoulders flat on the earth. And just feel that stretch all the way up the back of your leg. Check that the mound of the big toe is even with the mound of the little toe, so that the sole of the foot is evenly reaching up towards the ceiling. And really give a little, draw that, your heel up towards the ceiling. You'll feel a much deeper stretch when you do that. Now breathe into any resistance. Take your inhale into any tightness in your leg. And exhale, soften the tightness. Soften your muscles. So take the breath all the way down into your belly and up your leg. Exhale, back down your leg and out your mouth. Out your nose, I'm sorry. Feeling the elongation and the lengthening of the leg. If you feel like you have a little more space, you can draw your toes in a little bit closer in towards your head. But don't overstretch here. And now you can take your strap into your right hand, take your left hand out in a T on the mat and begin to take your foot, your right foot over towards the right side of the room. Getting a nice, you can let the left knee come out a little bit to the left, getting a nice stretch in the inner thigh and groin area of your right leg. Breathe into any tightness and soften with the exhale. Keep all the rest of the body relaxed. So check you're not gripping any other parts of your body. And then bring your leg back up to vertical. You can just take your leg a little bit over your side, the middle of your body, not all the way over to the left side, just a little bit over the left side, and you feel a stretch up a different part of your leg here, more on the outer right side of the leg. I always feel a bit of tingling in this stretch here. And then you can bring your foot back up to vertical. And this time, we're going to just begin to lengthen your left leg out along the mat. Just gives a little bit of a different sensation. Ground the left leg down into the mat. And one nice lengthening and stretching of that the right hamstring, calf muscle. The left leg toes are pointed up. And then you can start to bend your right knee, unloosen your strap, and bring both feet back down, both legs down onto the mat, and see if you can feel different sensation between the two legs. There's a saying, the pause is as important as the pose. Okay, now we're going to do it on the other side. So bring both feet up onto the mat. Loop your strap around the ball of your left foot. And then start to straighten the knee as you take your left foot up towards the ceiling. Draw the heel of the foot up towards the ceiling, and then also check that the mound of the big toe is level with the mound of the little toe here. shoulder blades are flat on the earth. Neck is long. Your teeth are unclenched. As you breathe in, take your inhale up your leg and exhale back down your leg. The breath doesn't go up your leg, but you can just visualize it softening, moving up the leg. Inhale as you lengthen, exhale as you soften. One more time. Now take your strap in your left hand, or if you've got your no strap, you can just support your left thigh with your hands. Begin to take your left leg out to the left side. You can take your right knee out to the right to counterbalance here. Right arm is also out along as a T, and then stretch all the inner thigh muscles, the left groin area. Inhale, feel the resistance. Exhale, soften. Use that breath to soften and nourish your muscles. One more breath here. And then bring the left leg up, vertical. And you can just take your strap in your right hand and cross the left leg over the midline. And just take a notice of where you may be feeling a little bit more of a stretch, the different muscles along the sides of the calf and the outside of the thigh, gluteal, medial, maximus. I'm not sure which one. I have to check. I'm doing an anatomy class now and I'm learning refreshing all my muscle terminology. There's a lot to learn. One more breath here. And then bring your left leg up to vertical. Lengthen your right leg out on the mat. Ground the right foot, the right leg, the back of the right thigh into the mat. And lengthen that up through the left leg one more time, using the breath to travel up. Relax and soften. See if you can bring your foot in a little bit closer in towards your head if that is accessible to you. But once again, not overstretching or overstriving. Two more breaths. When you're ready, you can take your strap off from your foot, lengthen your left leg out by your right leg. And take a moment to center yourself. Okay, now roll over onto your side. Use your hands to come up to sitting and then up onto your hands and knees. If you have sore knees or weak knees, you can use a blanket under your knees. I actually have carpet and 2 mats, so I have plenty of padding. So you want to position your wrists so that they are under your shoulders and that the wrist creases are parallel with the front of your mat. Spread your fingers wide. Your hands are about shoulder distance, shoulder width apart. The knees are under the hips and about hip distance apart. You can have your toes turned under if you like, or the feet flat on the mat. And we'll begin with some nice cat-cows. starting at the tailbone, dropping the tailbone down. As vertebrae by vertebrae, you round your spine all the way through to the neck, the cervical spine, and then let the head drop down towards the mat, the crown of the head. Nice inhale and exhale here. Now we're going to reverse the move, starting at the sit bones by taking the sit bones up towards the ceiling as you begin to curve the spine in an arch, drawing the shoulders, the chest and heart forward, widening across the collarbones and looking forward. And then go back into cat on an exhale. And reverse into cow on an inhale. Do that a few more times on your own breath cycle. So rounding the spine on the exhale. And then rolling forward and broadening through the collarbones on an inhale. And then come back to tabletop. Now you're going to really want to support the lower back here. So draw, but you can do that by drawing the belly button in towards the spine. And that'll really help to support the lower back as we're going to do first. Okay, take the right leg out behind you, toes turned under. And really use your inner thigh muscle to lift your right leg up to about hip height with the toes pointed down. And then lower. So be really mindful of this move. You're also using your gluteus maximus, that big muscle in the back of your buttock. So raise and lower. Raise and lower. Really engaging the inner thigh and the buttock muscles. One more time, raise. This time we're going to come into bird dog. So you're also going to raise your opposite hand. So your left arm is going to raise, fingertips pointing, palms facing inward, and extend from the fingertips through to the heel. Bird dog. And then you can bring your hand and knee back onto the mat. Now take the left leg out, toes turned under. We're going to raise the left leg up. So keep the toes pointing down towards the mat as you raise the left leg, engaging that inner thigh muscle. And lower. Raise. You're also engaging your left abdominals. And lower. And your buttock muscle, your gluteus maximus. Raise and lower. And one more time, we're going to raise, keeping the toes pointed down towards the ceiling. Extend your right arm out in front of you, palms facing towards, palms facing in. And really lengthen from the fingertips through to the heel. Feel the connection through the torso. It's a balancing and strengthening pose. One more breath here, and then you can bring your hand and knee back, and you can sit back on your heels, take a little rest. Back to tabletop. That was a short rest. And here we go, taking the right leg back out, stretched out behind you. This time just crossing the right leg over to the left side and then looking around your left shoulder at your right toes. Feeling the stretch all the way along the right side of the body. And then you can bring that knee back and take the left leg out. Take the left leg over to the right side, crossing it over your body, and then look around your right shoulder at your left toes. And then come back to center. And sit back on your heels. Take a moment to pause. Reconnect with your breath. And then come forward. You're going to please bring your right foot in by your right hand. If you have blocks here, I should have mentioned that. You can bring your blocks to the front of your mat. And you can lift up and lift up through your fingertips. If you don't have blocks, just lift up through your fingertips. You can have your blocks on medium setting, even on high setting here. Make sure that your knee is above your ankle. And then start to take your hips back. And you can walk your hands back. Your toes can come up off the mat and get a nice stretch along the hamstring again. You can have a little rounding of the spine here, just like in cat. And then come forward as in cow, opening up through the front of the body. Lift from the top of the pubic bone all the way up through to the bottom of the sternum. So lifting up through your torso, collarbones wide. Breathe in and then start to take your hips back, walk your hands back, toes come up off the mat. Do that one more time. Lifting, expanding, opening up through the chest. And then going back to stretch out the right hamstring. You can lower the head here. And then come back into a forward position. Now really ground your left shin into the mat because we're going to be rising, moving our torso away from our right thigh. So coming up to a more vertical position here. This is more of a balancing in low lunge. And then you can raise your hands up towards the ceiling. So the front foot is pressing into the mat, the back shin is pressing into the mat to help you with your balance. Breathe. Really extend up through the torso. Then bring your hands back in front of you. You're going to take the right hand around and towards the back, towards your back. Keep the left hand in front of you in twist here. And if you find your balance, you can look behind at your back fingertips. And then come back to your hands or your blocks. You can take the right knee back and bring the left foot up by the left inside of the left hand. Either use your blocks or your fingertips if you don't have blocks, and lift up. Make sure that the left knee is above the left ankle here. Lift up and expand through your chest, collarbones wide. You want to keep the compression from your lower back, so lift up through your torso from the top of your pubic bone up through to the sternum. And then gently start to straighten your left leg as you take your hips back, rounding your spine. Head can drop towards the mat. And then come forward again, inhaling as you lift open up and then back. Taking the hips back, feeling the lengthening along the left hamstring. And do this 2 more times at your own pace. Okay, now the next time you come forward, you can take your blocks away, come to your fingertips, round the right shin into the mat, the left foot, so the 4 corners of the left foot, keep your toes free, so you can lift your toes. And then we're going to start to move the torso away from the thigh. You can bring your hands to your left thigh here. Find your balance. And when you're ready, extend your arms out in front of you and up by your ears, fingertips to the sky. Lifting up through the front body. And then when you're ready, you can start to twist to the left side. And if you have your balance, you can look behind at your left fingertips. And then bring the left hand forward, back up. And then both hands can come back down onto the mat. So that is a balancing pose. I hope you all did okay with that. So bring your knees back together. And I think we'll go back into child's pose. Take your knees nice and wide and take your hips back towards your heels. You can cross your hands in front of you here and rest your head on your folded arms, or you can stretch your fingertips out in front of you. Rest the crown of your head on the mat. If it doesn't reach, use a block or a pillow. Just rest here. Really breathe into your back rib cage here. And relax through your sacrum. You're widening out across your sacrum and lower back area. Let your belly fall in between your knees. Now keep your hands, if you had your arms crossed, bring your hands out in front of you. Stretch those arms out in front of you. Come up onto your knees. Bring your knees back into hip distance apart. Tuck your toes. Well, first of all, let's just get our arms right. So we're going to get our arms ready for coming into downward dog. So bend your elbows just a little bit, and then as you straighten your elbows, bring the upper arms forward. So try that. So bend your elbows a little bit, straighten your arms, bring your upper arms forward. So the creases of your elbows are facing towards the front of the room. You want to keep the crease of the wrist, though, parallel with the mat, and the fingers spread wide. So when you have a nice steady arm and strong arms here, so the upper arms are rotating in towards each other, tuck your toes, and then start to push back with your arms, taking your sit bones up towards the ceiling. You can keep your knees bent here. We just want to get a nice straight vertical line from the head to the tailbone. And then when you're ready, you can start to straighten your legs and let your heels drop down towards the mat. And down dog. You can take one leg and bend it forward and backwards as though you're walking the dog. Come to still, then come forward, bringing your shoulders over your hands into plank. Drop your knees down and come back into child's pose. We're going to do that again. So come back up onto all fours, tuck your toes, the upper arms coming inward towards each other. Lift your knees up, sit bones up towards the ceiling. Stretch up from your arms, feel the power of your arms and the force of your legs. See if you can draw your torso, your chest in towards your thighs. Take a nice deep inhale, come forward into plank. So your shoulders are over your hands, drop your knees, come back down into child's pose. And we'll do that sequence one more time. So come back up onto all fours. Put your hands nice and firm, shoulders steady and strong. Begin to lift your hips up towards the ceiling, sit bones up towards the ceiling. Push into the earth with your hands. Your heels can start to drop down towards the earth as you straighten your legs. Take a nice deep inhale, come forward into plank, knees back down onto the mat and back into child's pose. Okay, now we're going to go from down dog, we're going to come to forward fold. So just come to a down dog, a nice easy down dog. And you can either walk your hands back towards your feet, or you can walk your feet towards your hands, whatever is more comfortable for you. Or you can go feet towards hands. And then just bend your knees and hang here. Let the weight of your head drop towards the mat. Keep the knees bent if you can't reach the mat. And if you like, you can start to straighten your legs one at a time. Feel that lengthening up the back of your legs. Nod your head yes and no to release the neck. Deep bend of the knees. Take your arms out to the side as you come up straight back and arms up towards the ceiling in upward hands. Lengthen up through the sides of your torso. But don't take your arm bones out of your shoulder sockets. Let them rest in your shoulder sockets so that your arms are resting in your shoulder sockets, but your fingers are reaching up towards the ceiling. And then you can turn your palms out to the sides of the room. Take them out to the sides and around behind you. Clasp your hands behind your back. If you can start to straighten your arms, you can bring your shoulder blades together and broaden across your collarbones. And then lift your arms away from your body if that's comfortable for you, or you can just draw your knuckles down towards the floor. And then unclasp your hands and start to raise your hands back up towards the ceiling, fingertips reaching. Turn the palms and float your arms back down, around. Clasp your hands behind you. Start to straighten your arms if you can. Draw your tailbone down towards the earth. Shoulder blades are coming together. You're broadening across your chest and opening up your chest. Take a nice deep inhale. And then you can release and take your hands down by your side in mountain pose. Now take your feet out wide, and you're going to rotate your feet out so that they're facing out to the corners of the room. Bring your arms back up into star pose. And then start to take your hands down, arms down into cactus, so the palms of the hands are facing forward. The upper arms are parallel with the ground. And then bend the knees into a squat, so that the knees are going to be tracking over the feet. You don't want them coming in, you want them tracking over your feet into a nice squat. Tailbone and pubic bone are equally weighted towards the mat. And then rise back up into star. Come back down into goddess pose. Lengthen up from tailbone through crown of head and rise back up to star. And then one more time, come down into goddess. And then if you're feeling like it, you can drop your hands down, you can adjust your feet to what's comfortable. Sorry, you can't see my feet. I'm just going to move this a little bit more. And you can begin to come down, bring your hands to prayer. You don't have to do this. You can just come down to the mat in any way you like. Keeping the knees wide, coming down into garland pose. So dropping the hips and buttocks down to the mat. The arms come to the insides of the knees as you lengthen up from tailbone to crown of head. Nice deep inhale. If you use a mat, you can, block, and you can put that behind you too to sit on if you have a block. This is strengthening all the pelvic floor and stretching the inner thigh and groin area once again. And then drop your buttocks down onto the mat. Come into bound ankle pose, butterfly pose, or cobbler's pose. So bring the soles of your feet. Let me adjust one more time. Bring the soles of the feet together. You can have them close into the groin or far away from the groin, whatever's more accessible to you. And let your knees just gently and naturally fall out to the sides. You can hold your shins here, or hold your ankles, or hold your toes, but really lengthen up from the tailbone. The tailbone is your taproot. You're going to lengthen from the tailbone. So you're grounding through the earth, but lengthening up through the crown of the head. And we're going to come into a forward fold, and we're going to hold it for about 90 seconds. So want to keep our breathing open and free. You want to keep the distance from your pubic bone to the bottom of your sternum. So if you want to feel that area, you want to keep that the same length as you come forward. So we're going to be bending the pelvis over we're going to be coming forward, but we're not rounding the spine. So keeping a straight back, as straight as possible. At some point, the back will round, but just start to come forward with a straight back. Move your hands forward. Come and feel the resistance, pause. And then come forward a little bit more. At some point, your back will start to round, and you can let your head drop down. So the crown of your head drops down towards the mat. And I'm going to put a little timer on here. For 1.5 minutes, we're going to stay in this pose. So try and be as comfortable as you can. As you round forward and bring your senses inward. Opening up through the inner thighs, across the back of the hips and sacrum. Connecting with your breath, letting it be easy and not strained. Okay, you can slowly start to make your way back up to sitting. That was a little bit of yin yoga where you hold the pose for a bit longer and it really starts to work on that fascia, that interconnected tissue that encapsulates our bodies. So it's always a nice thing to do a little bit of yin. So we can finish up by coming down onto your backs. Bring your knees in to your chest. Arms out to the side in a T. And if you want to have a block or a blanket or a pillow to the left side, we're going to be beginning to drop the knees over to the left side. If you can't reach, use a block or pillow or blanket to support your knees. And take your head over to the right side. Spinal twist. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and release into a deeper twist. Anchor your right shoulder blade down onto the mat. Two more breaths here. And then begin to bring your right knee up towards center, followed by your left knee as you roll back over onto your back. And now we're going to go the opposite side. So if you need to move those supports, the blanket, pillow, or blocks over to the right side, do that now. Take a nice inhale. Exhale, start to drop the knees over to the right side. Anchoring the left shoulder blade down onto the mat. Opening across the chest, and then you can turn your head to look over the opposite side. Visualize the twist in your spine, a spiral staircase going from the tailbone or the base of the spine all the way up to the neck. Use your breath to really relax into the twist. And hopefully it's an enjoyable twist. And next, after your next breath cycle, You can begin to bring your left knee up to center, followed by your right knee as you roll back over on your sacrum. You can lengthen out your legs on the mat. Bring your arms to a comfortable distance away from your body, palms facing up. If you like to use a blanket over you to keep you warm, a pillow under your head for comfort, or a rolled up blanket under your knees to prevent any crunching of your lower back. We're going to come into a nice Shavasana, so take up space on your mat. Let your body spread like melting butter in a pan. Let your whole body yield to the earth. Relax completely. Rest fully. And have a sense of being held by the earth. Let your breath move freely in and out your body. And let your heart be open. You can stay in this restful Shavasana for as long as you need. Thank you all for joining me tonight. It was my pleasure, and namaste.